Good afternoon, guys. Welcome back to Fat Cat Collections. And today I want to talk about watch insurance. Because us Invicta collectors, even if you're at this channel and you're not even an Invicta fan, you collect something else, watches in general, there's a huge, broad price difference in watches. We all know there's watches that are like $1, $2, from some of these like eBay specials, and there's watches, sky is the limit, millions of dollars. And so the issue I've found when it comes to insuring watches is that a lot of insurance companies that, they handle your homeowners or your renter's insurance, depending on, where you may live, whether it be a condo policy, a homeowner's policy, a renter's insurance, they all insure watches kind of similarly, right? So a lot of times when it comes to insuring larger ticket items, they want to have those items scheduled. Now, I'm not an insurance salesman, I'm not an expert, and if any of you have more information, or if you're in this line of work and I make a mistake, by all means, please correct me in a nice way in the comment section, because this is all more information to help other watch collectors. Now, with my insurance policy and several insurance policies I've had over the years, when it comes to a homeowner's policy, they want to have each item scheduled for any item over that $2,500 mark. Now that might be specific to my particular insurance company, but what I have found over the years is a lot of insurance companies and policies are all pretty similar. Now that might be something that's, I guess, feasible for somebody who maybe has a couple watches in their collection. Maybe you have some, really expensive jewelry, a wedding band. Those items generally do get appraised. Generally, people don't appraise regular, average Joe watches, right? And I'm not saying that as a negative thing. I just mean that if you're going to have, like for me, I have a collection of about 160 watches, right? And with those watches, they're not very expensive watches. They range in price. I have watches that cost, $20 when I got really a lot younger and just started to, just buy watches here and there. You see a kiosk in the mall, but they're sentimental is the thing, right? There's a story with each one. On average, I'd say most of my watches are in that $150 to $300 price range. Of course, I have more, like if you want to look at some of my Visser dive watch, Alexander's Aqua Dive, they're in the several thousands, right? It just depends on the model. But the thing is that I'm not going to pay to have an appraisal done on an Invicta, right? And it's just not, I probably, honestly, not to insult the brand. You guys know I love the brand, but I probably get laughed out of the store, right? Because most people don't insure watches that are at this price point. The issue is that when you have over 100 watches, right? Or you have a large collection of watches. I may have 160. There's guys I hear calling in to like the Home Shopping Network. They have like 400 watches. One guy had like 1,000. So pretty difficult. You're not going to take 1,000 watches, even 100 watches, and get those scheduled. Now, I have heard over the years, and again, I never really researched this, that you could possibly insure a collection almost as like a retail inventory. There's probably ways around that. But again, I'm not sure what all that costs, right? Insurance is expensive. And to be flat out honest, it pisses me off being a very conservative, very safe driver that I have to pay even what I pay for my vehicles, right? And they're constantly having to change prices, not based on your driving record, but based on other people's driving records, right? And based on and that's kind of how insurance works. If they have to shell out more money for something, then those premiums get passed on to hardworking, good, honest, reliable people, right? It's kind of how it works. Just like recently, I've heard on the news that, they're no longer going to be using credit to determine insurance figures, and that was going to affect people with good credit. And you might be saying, well, why would that affect me? I have good credit. I shouldn't pay more, and that's true. But the thing is that the reason they've used credit, which really should, in my opinion, it should be used for only one thing: getting credit, right? Having somebody front you something in good faith that you're going to pay it back. It's like your word, right? Whether you're honest or not. When it comes to credit, that's your reliability as far as paying your bills. It shouldn't have anything to do with insurance, because ultimately insurance is a service that you pay for in advance, right? You're insured, you're paid for, it's yours. It's no different. So using credit really doesn't, you could have the worst credit in the world to be a very safe conservative driver. So in my opinion, it's how they've been able to screw people over the years by saying, oh, your credit's bad. And when they changed the laws, and I'm not sure if I was state or maybe I'm completely way off here. This is just something I've heard. I never really researched it too much. I know my folks are talking about it. they basically did away with using credit to dictate, to change the price of how much people pay for insurance, because they were screwing over those poor people. I don't mean poor as in financially poor. I mean those poor, like you poor bastard, those people who, you know, had bad credit, maybe are great drivers, never had a claim, and they're getting ripped off, right? So, you know, I think that, you know, insurance should be a risk, like a risk, so what I'm looking for, it should be based on risk, right? If you have somebody who has a lot of speeding tickets, they're obviously like the speed, they're a higher risk. If you have somebody who's bad credit, that has nothing to do with their driving record, you know? If you have somebody who's had a few DUIs, right? You know, that they like to drink and drive, that's a risk, right? That should dictate their insurance price, not your credit score, right? So now that people with good credit, we've seen an increase, which I have, you know, it's because they have to make up that money somewhere, and they've been screwing, you know, the little guy out of money. So totally different subject. But when it comes to watches, it's kind of the same thing. You know, it's all based on what, you know, the claims have been, right? And what they think they can get out of you, because really, honestly, depending on where you live, you know, I would think the risks are pretty low to get stuff like that stolen. Now, some of you knuckleheads out there might be watching the video and be like, oh man, nobody steals Invictus. You guys are stupid. People steal everything. If it's not bolted down, and somebody who is that kind of person, well, they will take it. It doesn't matter what it is, you know? I remember one year I worked, or a couple of years I did like a part-time gig working loss prevention. People steal everything. Everything. I mean, you name it, they take it. So that's the way it is, and as the world gets harder for a lot of folks, you're going to see more of that. Now, when it comes to collecting watches, I love variety, and you guys know that. So I'm not going to go and get scheduled 160 different watches, right? It's just not worth it. So to pay all that, it's just not worth it. So there are some things I recommend, but I do want to talk about watch-specific insurance, because by doing a little bit of research, I did find one company, and this is, I think I'm saying this right, Hodinkee, and they, I guess, have teamed up with another insurance company or something like that. I don't know much about this. I'm just giving you what I've just punched in here, and just to give you guys a little bit of information. And now they're offering watch insurance, which is kind of cool, because you can insure an entire collection, and it's pretty cool. I went through the process here of you take pictures of your watches, you give the approximate value, and roughly the year, and what they say is that you'll get 150% back on a claim. Now, we all know insurance companies love to take money, but they don't like to pay out money. So I don't know, you know, I haven't had to, I'm not going to sign up for this, of course, because I'm going to talk about that in addition, another subject or another topic to taking care of your things that mean something to, you know, layers of security and protection. Insurance is a great way of doing that. It is peace of mind, and I don't want to downplay that, but you do pay for that, and you pay for something that most likely won't happen. Now, when it comes to like cars, it's a little bit different, because you could be the safest driver in the world, and you're at the mercy of other people as well. So you care about your car like I do, you know, naturally, and it is, of course, the law, but even if it wasn't, I would still want insurance on my vehicles for other people. I know my behavior, I'm pretty reliable. When it comes to other people, not so much, you know. I'm not saying there are great drivers out there, I'm not trying to pat myself on the back, but that's just the way it is. I mean, I just, every time I get behind the wheel, I'm pissed off at some idiot on the road, either tailgating or, you know, it's tailgating's my biggest thing. You know, speeding isn't even the worst thing. Tailgating, these people just ride everybody's ass. It's like, and they still get to the same destination as everybody else does. Like, what do you save, 10 seconds? So I really got to try and control the road rage. But anyway, because it ultimately isn't worth it, you know, just back off, be smart. But, you know, at least with like watch collecting and having a collection of watches, you can do things on your own to give yourself peace of mind and ensure that you know, you're minimizing the risk of somebody stealing watches. Now, when it comes down to somebody, like when we talk about the Invictas and why would anybody steal Invicta, again, people will steal everything. And if you have a nice large collection, really what you're preventing, a professional thief probably isn't going to target somebody who has a collection of, you know, $200 watches, right? They're going to, you know, and if they are kind of casing somewhere, targeting somewhere, they want to go after the big pay, right? The big payout. You know, your higher end, you know, your Rolex watches, your Omegas, you know, your all these other different brands that retain a huge value, have a huge value, right? That they can easily get their money back for, or their money for, right? Now, again, a lot of those watches are all serial numbered, and there are things in place to help prevent bad things from happening, but ultimately, you know, there are no guarantees in getting stuff back. If somebody wants to steal your Rolex and just wear it, you're never going to get it back. So I think those are items that if you did own super expensive luxury items like that, it would be probably smart, you know, to I think that if you can really afford a $20,000 watch, then you most likely could probably afford the insurance. Now there are the wannabes out there who will get their pre-owned Rolex, and we're not going to name any names, but you know what I'm talking about, who will, you know, whatever they have to do to get their Rolex finance, exhaust their savings. You know, that to me is not being able to afford a brand. Ultimately, buy what makes you happy, of course, but I would think that wouldn't be a big deal. Now, so again, getting back to insuring watches, you know, you could look into possibly getting them insured as a collection with like a retail policy or an inventory policy of some sort. I think it would fall more under like a commercial insurance. But with this is pretty cool because this allows you to very easily punch in a picture of a watch, value again, year manufactured, and again, based on what I read, they'll pay you 150% back should you file a claim. Now, I'm not sure if that just covers theft. I do recommend you reading the fine print. I'm just going to give you the figures here on what I found about. You might be saying, what does this cost? So originally when I first punched in a watch into this, and again, this is Hot and Key or Hood and Key Insurance. I believe they have something to do with you guys. As much as I love watches, I don't geek out about it. You know, I'm not online all day staring at reading about watches. I see them, ones I like, I just buy it, I share it with you guys. So, but there's a lot of information out there. If you guys have some, go ahead, drop a comment. But I believe they're somebody big in the watch world, and so they teamed up with this, probably some sort of insurance company, and they're offering this insurance. So, again, I punched in into the website once you sign up. What I like about it is that they're not really like, it's not a big long process to sign up. And a lot of times when it comes to insurance or anything out there, insurance, you know, what else? I'm trying to think. Anything that requires a quote, most of the time they say instant quote, but then they basically take your information and then you're contacted by somebody. With this, I like the fact that they honored what they said they were going to do. It is an instant quote, and you can pay for it right then and there. So first I punched in a Sea Hunter 22132. Roughly, you can find about $200 to $300, again, depending on when you buy. You know, you're looking at, say, roughly a $300 watch. When I first punched that in, it gave me the quote of $50 per year to insure that watch. Now, for me, I said to myself, you know, that to me is pretty steep. I'm not going to pay $50 a year. Before you know it, I could have just bought another watch. Right now, granted, that'll take, you know, several years to do that, but I said, let me punch in a few more watches. So I added my Visser dive watch, which has a retail value about $730. And then I punched in my Aqua Dive bathyscaphe. That's about $2,000. And these aren't like, you know, with the Invictas, I understand that there's that retail game being played. Whereas, you know, they're also a $3,000 watch. It's not. These are real world values I put in here. That Invicta watch, $300. Maybe you'll get it for $200 now, but you know how that goes. If, you know, 2 years goes by and that watch is no longer available, that price will jump up. So, and we're really looking at replacement cost here, because you guys, if you're like me, you love collecting watches. Every watch in your collection is kind of like your hidden gem, right? And so you don't want to lose them. Like, let's say somebody broke in, stole them. You want to get that watch back to add it back to your collection. In most cases, I know I would. Again, punching these figures in here, the price jumped up to, and I'm just going to go back here, and it jumped up to about, so averaging about $2,000 for the Aqua Dive, $730 for the Visser, and $300 for the Invicta. The price is about $150 per year to insure those three watches. Now, basically, what I found is it doesn't really matter what you value each piece at, or let me just rephrase. It's not so much necessarily about the particular piece, but the total value of replacement cost is what they're quoting you here as far as the price per year. When I went ahead and played with the figures, just to figure out what it would cost roughly, and then this is very rough. I would recommend, if you're interested in this, you punch in your collection, but it's going to be very time consuming if it's something you end up not getting. But that being said, I put the Aqua Dive bathyscaphe at $30,000, only to get the total value of the collection up to about $31,000. And I would think that that's pretty realistic if you were an Invicta collector. And I don't just want to say just Invictas, but I mean, if you're a watch collector, we know when we look at people who collect watches that I would think, and I'm making an assumption here, but people who collect Invicta watches, tend to be very obsessive about collecting watches. I have never seen many people who are like, yeah, I have a Bulova collection. And, oh, really? How many you got? 5, right? But when Invicta, it seems like it's the one brand out there. No, I don't. I know there are the exceptions. I understand that. But on average, if we look at, what I would think that when we look at what is a watch brand that's most collected, I really don't think there's anybody out there who can beat Invicta. Now, I'm sure there are collectors who collect Timex, and we all can get obsessive about different things. But I think it's less likely to see somebody collecting, having a Rolex collection because they are so expensive. There might be Seiko collectors out there, Casio, but this goes for really any collection, any brand for that matter. I do think, though, when it comes to the Invicta brand, I think most Invicta people who shop for the brand and buy the brand, they don't stop at one. It just goes on and on and on. And again, that is an assumption being made, but I can just speak on how I value the brand, and a lot of the people who comment on my channel, it's not, hey, I have 2. It's always like, have 2, bought 2 more. It's always a big collection. And if you just listen to like the Home Shopping Network, you'll hear the guys that, and you look at the comments on my channel is enough to know that this is a very collectible brand. And when I say collectible, I mean collectible because it means something to the person. I don't mean people collect it to one day make money off it. That's not really, I don't think you should do it with any watches. I know there are experts out there who will tell you differently and say, Rolex is an investment piece, and there are investment pieces out there, but most of them aren't, and really for something to be an investment piece, it really needs to be purchased, held on to for years, and never touched, not worn, no scratches. That's what you do with investment, anything investment related, right? For the most part, you don't buy coins and then just put them in your pocket and show, wear them around, jiggle them with the change. You buy them and you keep them mint. And stamps, same thing. That's kind of how collecting works. You want it mint. Star Wars figures, if you're a Star Wars fan, anything that's collectible or becomes collectible, it's all about the condition at the end of the day. And so with Invictas, we wear our shit. You know what I mean? So with that being said, punching these numbers in here, I think 31,000 or 30,000 is pretty reasonable for a guy who has 100 Invicta watches, right? For replacement of that collection. And again, remember, when we protect our Invicta watches or our watches that are affordable watches, we're really preventing the crackhead from getting in, right? The desperate guy, because what is this, if you think about it logically, what is the guy going to break in, steal 100 watches, and list them on eBay? It's too time consuming. They're looking to get rid of them quick cash, pawn shop, stuff like that, And unfortunately, Invicta, I don't think is a watch that is going to be something that, somebody steals my Invicta Sea Hunter, he's probably going to try to pawn it somewhere and get 50 bucks. Because pawn shops aren't going to give you real value. He's not going to sit on it and wait to, it's quick money. So, I use the term crackhead. It doesn't necessarily be a crackhead, but you know what I mean. Snatch and grab kind of thing. In and out, get out. Probably not a lot of research and casing the joint. Again, making a lot of speculations here, a lot of assumptions, but you get kind of my gist where I'm going from. So that's kind of my mentality when protecting my stuff. If somebody were to break into my house, again, when we talk about layering security, be smart. The biggest thing you can do is to use common sense and good judgment. Don't leave your doors unlocked. Be careful with your windows and stuff like that. Well, be aware of your surroundings. 2, beefing up your door frames. Looking at those access points where it's logical for somebody to break in. Most people are probably going to break in through the front door, although that does happen. Most people are they want to do something kind of quiet, more secluded. So, again, common sense, protecting those windows. It may be a window that's, you don't really need access to get in and out of in an emergency. It might be something you want to put a window bar on. There's all kinds of things you can do. I remember growing up, we got broken into before we were born. My dad had lost some items, and they got in through a downstairs window that was I don't know if I kind of forget if they broke the window or if it was unlocked. Whatever the reason was, it was behind some shrubs, really hidden, very secluded. And after that, my dad had nailed those windows shut, right? When we had, wooden door frames or window frames back then, they were nailed shut. They can never open again. And so, we didn't use those windows. So it wasn't really a big deal. So stuff like that. And again, some people laugh at me, mainly the trolls on YouTube, but, oh, why would you put your Invictas in a safe? Nobody wants those. Like I said, a thief will take anything. And watches and jewelry and cash are really the first thing a thief is going to look for. They're going to come in and try to get the 70-inch TV off the wall, right? If they do, great, my insurance will cover that. I'll get the newer model, a bigger model. But when it comes to sentimental things like jewelry, watches, stuff like that, we want to prevent that from happening. So I always recommend get a safe. You know, I have several safes. And that's a whole different art, you know, whole different conversation on how to secure those. Again, cameras, all these things help to layer your security, protect your stuff. But if it does give you peace of mind to have insurance, this is an option for you. So on a $31,000 collection, you're looking at $422 per year. So that's not too bad. That's pretty reasonable. What is that? That's, let me give you an exact figure here. And again, remember, you will have to go and punch in your stuff. And, you know, I don't know, you know, if they take into account, I'm not sure if they take into account if you were to punch in a Rolex there, if they take into account any kind of appreciation, you know, replacement as far as the inflation of this stuff. I'm not sure. I didn't price Rolex. If you do have a Rolex, again, check it out. Email them, comment, you know, whatever. But for something like this, for the kind of watches for the subscribers that follow my channel collect, you know, you're looking at about $35 a month, which to me, honestly, is a little bit steep because, you know, for a homeowner's policy, which just covers like your stuff, you know, or like a renter's policy, if you ever had one of those, condo policies, you know, generally they'll cover stuff from like the sheetrock or the paint in. And so with a policy like that, you know, I think I only pay like $20 and it covers up to like $75,000 worth of stuff, which is, you know, definitely, you know, that's perfect for what I got, you know, and that's perfect for what most people have. You know, if you're an average middle-class guy, you probably don't have $10,000, you know, sofa love seats. You know, you probably have something affordable, right? So all that stuff, I think $75,000 is very reasonable. You probably can get away with $50, and I got a lot of stuff, right? So $35 a month is a little steep, but it's not horrible, and it is peace of mind to know that your collection is protected. Now, I would look at the fine print on any time you're getting like this, what's required. You know, if in the event that you do lose your collection, did they have a safe clause? Did they have a, you know, a forced entry clause? Does it have to be police documented that somebody broke in? You know, what's preventing somebody from getting this insurance and saying, yeah, I got ripped off, you know, pay me? It's not going to happen. They're probably going to have somebody come out and, you know, some legal paperwork to prove that you did in fact get ripped off, aren't trying to cause, you know, like create an insurance claim or insurance fraud, right? So again, these are all questions like with anything else. If I was getting this service or this insurance, I would know the answer to these, but I'm not going to. Again, I feel I have a lot of peace of mind with my security system, my camera system, the little tripwires I got set up here and there, and of course, you know, neighbors being aware of, you know, surroundings, lots of lights, safes, stuff like that. You know, I mean, nothing is guaranteed, but I'm telling you right now, if you're gonna get into my house and you're gonna get into one of my things, you're gonna be making a lot of friggin' noise, and most likely that's not gonna happen. So again, but this is peace of mind. I wouldn't recommend you insure one Invicta watch, but $31,000, $422 a year, you know, that's pretty decent. Now, if we do go back here, and I just want to go back and just kind of edit something here. If we do change, let me see if I can change the value, just to give you guys an idea. I changed the value of the Aquadye bath cap back to, oops, the wrong figure, 2,000. And let's add a watch. Let me go ahead and add a Rolex, just to see. And there's a list of, you know, when you put in the brand name, if they have it in their system, it'll pop up. The watches I put in, the Invicta was the only one that, that registered. We will just go with model name. We'll go Submariner. And they do want reference number. Let me just find the Submariner reference number. And again, you know, you guys, I know I joke and I'm opinionated like we all are, but you know, regardless, I do want you guys to, even if you are a Rolex collector, could be useful information for you as well. So I just picked the model number right off Google here. I don't know anything about it. It says Submariner 41. The Walmart even sells Rolex. They do. That's funny. Let's see. Certified. So here's Walmart selling this one here for $30,000. Reference number 16618. It's a gold Rolex. Let me go ahead and put that one in there. Reference number 16618. Year produced. I have no idea. But you can put you can estimate it. Year 2003. Good for you. Good for you, Walmart. Got the information. 2003. They said 2000s. Okay. And approximate value, we're just going to put $30,000 in there. And we're going to want to select the photo, which they require you to do. So let me just take Walmart's photo here. And let's add that photo. And we'll see what the figures do here. I wasn't planning on doing this, but I figure you guys, if you guys are watching this, could be good information for you. Let's see. Let's see what it does here. So again, at $33,000 with including the Rolex, you're looking at $446 per year. So it didn't really jump up that much, considering that we added another, what was that, $2,000 to the total, including the other watches, the Bathscap, the Visser, the Invicta. But not bad, you know. So now I don't know what your insurance would cost if you're already paying for a homeowner's policy. If you said, yep, I want to add a $30,000 Rolex to that claim, I'm going to have it scheduled, here's the appraisal, all it's going to factor in, you're, you know, at least with this, they're not asking for really any proof other than a picture. Now, I encourage you, if you are going to sign up for this, when you do take the pictures, I would definitely, I know I didn't see this mentioned, but I would definitely, when you take pictures, if you are going to sign up for this, do something that's going to make sure that the picture you're uploading has some sort of identifiable information in it. I know they don't recommend this, but it's very easy for our insurance claims to be like, well, that was in your picture. And you thinking, oh, well, I just didn't know, you know? So I would take a picture of your actual watch, which is something you probably would do anyway, but also put like identifiable information there. Maybe your photo ID right next to each picture. Maybe, you know, maybe on top of a newspaper with, you know, a current newspaper with your ID. Just something in that picture to show that, hey, at this time this picture was taken, you know, this was the current paper, this was the, you know, my identification, here's the expiration of my identification. Just have a little more proof that this is in fact yours and you took this picture, right? I think that's got to be the best way of ensuring, no pun intended, that they don't try to pull something later on down the road should you have to file a claim. So, but not too bad, really. I mean, you know, if you had a collection that cost $100,000, which is very reasonable, if you have guys who have, you know, 300 Invictus, that's what it costs to replace those. So you're looking about, it was about $650 a year. So not horrible, I don't think, but also look into your homeowner's policy. But I kind of would lean more towards your insurance policy for your, if you were to get one of these scheduled, would probably cost roughly the same amount. But the convenience factor of this is that your regular homeowner's insurance isn't really an option if you have a large collection of watches, whereas this, it makes it very easy to insure the collection. So that's my 2 cents. I hope it was helpful for some of you. Let me know if you have any questions. I'll try to help you out. I'll put a link to this website in the description where you can check it out. As always, guys, thanks for watching the content. If I can help in any way, let me know. As always, guys, subscribe to the channel and take care.